Welcome on into the show. My name's Deny Gallagher, and I'm joined by the snare campaign provocateur, the professor. I think that one stuck. It's
Oh.
Denny. It's Benny Horowitz. Oh my God.
It's Benny Horowitz. You know, going through the world named Benny. Often in a first or even second interaction, I am very often called Denny, Kenny, Danny, Lenny, all sorts of different things. And I've, at a certain age, I think when you hit like 30, I just stopped correcting people altogether. So there's quite a few people out there in the world who actually think I'm a Denny. I'd make a good Denny. You think so?
Would you go one N or two? Would you stick with the two N's?
No, because the two N's is like, for some reason that makes me think that I'm a Benjamin when you rock like the two N's. Like Denny, that's not short for anything. No, you're just Denny.
No, Dennis.
You're obviously. Oh my God, I'm so dumb. All right, Dennis. Yes, Dennis. So no, of course two N's. Yeah, I mean, actually, Denny with two N's makes more sense than Benny with two N's.
Yeah.
Because my actual name is only spelled with one N. So, I think I'd go two. And I think actually I'm questioning how you spell your name now. I don't think this is right. Yeah.
See, it's like
you're more of you're Deny. I never even realized that I'm on the show with Deny Gallagher. What the fuck? You need another N. What did we just discover in the intro here?
I have fought so hard against this because at places I have worked, I will put Denny and I will spell it out for them on the thing, and they cannot get their brain around it. And I'm like, what the fuck?
You're blowing my mind right now. How long have we been doing this podcast together? And I never put it together that you're Deny Gallagher. Holy shit. The real watermelon smasher. Deny Gallagher, the third brother. Oh my goodness!
I'm all of those things. I'm a pop culture enigma.
You are. This is funny,
man. All right. Well, speaking of pop culture enigmas, let's get into the pop culture enigma. It's this day in music history.
The best one.
All right. What do you got?
All right, Deny. So on this day, 2021, Forbes, rich person magazine of note, declares Rihanna the richest female musician by far. Her $1.7 billion fortune is roughly double that of Madonna, who is number 2 on the list. Double! Most of Rihanna's earnings are from her Fenty beauty line. But come on, gangster, huh?
Yeah.
1.7 billion doubles Madonna. Madonna's got how many years in the biz? We're talking books, movies. It's not like she hasn't branched out.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Where's Beyonce on this list? I thought she was up there. I thought she was a billionaire as well. Or is that her and Jay's combined?
I think it's a combined thing because I don't think she has a company, no?
Yeah.
I mean, like she is a company, but
no, she made some fashion line too, didn't she?
I can't
probably some athleisure or something.
You're the one that lives with the fashion design.
I know she would know. She would know. I wish I had that resource right now. Well, but Taylor Swift's got to be smoking up from the rear. She's young, and when you sell out, like, I mean, like you got to think, right? Taylor Swift just played to literally. Let's just roughly say like 200 to 300,000 people in every city she just went to because she was doing 2-3 nights at stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
Just this tour alone, I don't know the fucking. It's so out of my realm of comprehension, but she's got to be pocketing like $100 million. I don't know, something crazy like that. So I got to think she's rocketing up this list. Too.
She's doing 6 nights at SoFi now, which I think is the longest anyone. I mean, that venue's new, but still. So, but she also doesn't. She just sticks to the music. I don't think she doesn't have like a tequila.
Right.
Like
but she's young. But she's young. She's got a while to get into, like Cher is 70 and doing gelato now. Like imagine what Taylor Swift's gonna pull off in the next 50 years. I mean, remember, like Giant Stadium when it's filled up on a normal Sunday is the third biggest city in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like she did that 3 times.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So,
it's crazy. So,
but this was for Rihanna. 1.7 billion. You're a queen. I love you. I still see videos of her mopping up her own house too. Respect.
Oh man.
And
I don't think we'll see anybody rock a Super Bowl pregnant the way she did and still give us the dancing chef's kiss.
I know. It's like even when you think Rihanna has walked through the industry with no Lizzo moments,
Oh man, we're not gonna get. See, I didn't want to disparage anybody this week. I wanted to keep it light this week, but since we're here briefly, this Lizzo thing, how often does this become like a? I guess how often are the allegations real, and is there always a kernel of truth whenever somebody goes down this situation?
Well, I mean, listen, like if you're running like a gregarious show where everybody's like super happy and engaged and blah, 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 then 3 people don't walk away and then sue you.
Yeah.
So I got to imagine something happened. I'm not going to say whether she was wrong or not, because the one thing that always comes into my mind too is, I've met a lot of men through the years who are lauded for their lack of bullshit, their straightforwardness, their attention to detail and wanting to do a good job, and I feel like they're given a lot of passes as a result. And I do wonder if she was running a real tight ship where she demanded perfection, and in that case, like, maybe she wasn't wrong and it's viewed at differently because she's a young woman. So I think there's a lot to that story, but a lot we don't know about yet. You know?
Yeah. We will let that story unfold and then bring that to you on a.
This is about Lizzo abusing her dancers, by the way.
Yeah.
if anyone didn't know, in case we didn't know, this is about Lizzo being mean to her dancers. Apparently,
I wanted to sprinkle in some allegedlys there,
allegedly
to keep us safe. All right. I'm gonna, speaking of abuse, Benny, on this day in 1967, a female Monkees fan was stowed away on the band's plane between shows in Minneapolis and St. Louis. The girl's father threatened to bring charges for transporting a minor across state lines. Now, I gotta know here with this story because I almost didn't want to do any further digging on this. How I don't think the Monkees were like putting teenage fans underneath the plane. So I don't think that was in the realm of possibility. So do you think, you're like, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I kind of thought that this was more of a case of like the girl just like wanted to like meet the Monkees. So she just got on the plane like Tom Cruise.
Well, if that was the case, why is dad so upset? Then it's his daughter's fault. Like the Monkees were just flying to their next show.
It's like
the idea that they stowed away a teenager makes me think that they put a teenager under the plane. Listen, shit was crazy back then. It was. Even the people you thought were safe. Like every single time I watch some documentary or read something on like, let's say like the 60s hippie West Coast scene, like Laurel Canyon or what was going on in the Bay Area, like 60 years later, we're all like, oh, look at the tie-dye and look at all the cool shit. They're dancing like that. The men were still disgusting. Yeah. They were still chauvinist pigs because they were raised by men who were raised in like the 30s. And we still were not far removed from like, some really archaic shit. So the idea that the Monkees in like good fun put a teenage girl in a stowaway, they're probably like, oh, it's Richmond to Baltimore. It's a 30-minute skip. She'll be fine. Like, I don't know. I could see it.
Yeah. I don't know part of me was like, maybe there was like an end of Animal House situation where she's like, "Oh, by the way, surprise!"
Yeah.
But yeah, no, dicey situation here for the monkeys. But.
I think it was Davy Jones. Davy Jones liked to keep teenage women in his suitcase. I don't know.
Oh man!
No,
all right. Well, speaking of teleporting, Benny,
I thought you were going to say. Speaking of teenage women in suitcases.
Yeah. Well,
allegedly,
maybe teenage aliens here. Congress last week held hearings regarding the U.S.'s involvement with unidentified objects and aliens and stuff like that. So I want to run through the big 5 takeaways from Congress meeting to talk about aliens and UFOs last week and all that good stuff. So the first takeaway is the government is absolutely in possession of UAPs. Dave Grush, however you pronounce it, a former U.S. intelligence official, told a panel that he is absolutely certain that the federal government is in possession of UAPs, citing interviews that he conducted with over 40 witnesses. So that seems to be in the ballpark of reality, though there was some crazy stuff said. He also said that non-human biologics, that's a heck of a way to describe something you found. Was found at the crash site. He underscored that he has not personally spotted a UAP, but he said multiple colleagues were injured by UAPs. He also said that the interview discovered the non-human biologics, as I said, and he prefers to use the term non-human rather than alien or extraterrestrial. All right, so we got a few more here, but let's just start there.
Sure.
The bodies of aliens allegedly found, not sure whether they're in U.S. government possession, and the U.S. government allegedly being in possession of UAP. How much credibility do you give this David Grush guy? Grush.
Well, all right. So there's a lot to this story, and like, I think some of the biggest things to come out to it are more broad. And I actually hit up my alien expert, who's Tom May, guitar player, singer of the Menzingers, who is an alien enthusiast and knows a lot about this. And like, for someone like him, nothing in this hearing that came out was new news. To people who are like in the know and like, actively looking for information on this stuff, a lot of the instances they were talking about in this hearing were kind of well-known fodder amongst the UAP community, and people who follow it. I think the big deal was putting it on permanent government record in like a hearing like this kind of takes it from a fringier thing to a realer thing, the fact that it's even being recognized in this way. And then B, now opening up new channels for people in the Air Force, for even, pedestrian flyers and stuff, to report these things. Because back in the day, I think you were scoffed at or laughed at if you were reporting sites of this stuff, or you didn't want to deal with it because then you had, Ed Harris in his fedora, knocking at your door the day later, harassing your family for like 10 years if you do say you saw something. So I think that the information wasn't new or mind-blowing, but it does like legitimize things that a lot of people thought. And then one other thing I took from it is what you were talking about, like the biological aspect and the things they took from it. I think I'm glad it's getting away from this idea that I've always kind of shrugged my shoulders at the idea that the government is hiding this stuff because we can't handle it and they can't. You know what I mean? Like this group of people who were in high school or college like 3 years before, who don't know much more than me, can handle such sensitive information about other worlds, but the world can't. We would just fall apart, blah, 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 blah. It's got nothing to do with that. They're trying to take these things, bring it into their labs and reverse engineer them so they can have the technology before anybody else. And I think that's another thing that became clear in these hearings, was the fact that that is the impetus for how much work and how much secrecy goes into it. It's not, altruistic.
Well, you just answered my next question there. It's like, why now do all of this stuff? But if they're trying to see, this sounds kind of dumb to me. Like the fact that they'd be like, all right, we're in like this like a new version of a race for everything against other countries, and we're gonna try to quote unquote reverse engineer UFOs and like tap into this. Like, what are we doing? This sounds crazy.
I mean, listen, I think that there are things at play when we're talking about stuff like this. I do think that there are technologies and things in the world that exist in secret that we do not know anything about, and this is a big part of that, But this one, for some reason, just fascinates people so much more than like your nuclear stockpile or something like that. So it's garnered public interest for 50 years. How much science fiction's been written about this? There's movies about, hidden bases in the desert where they're storing aliens, and, like Will Smith, and, it's become some real pop culture shit. And literally the guy from fucking Blink 182 is half the reason that we're seeing some of this stuff. So like, I think it's one of those interesting things, is like some things the government can't keep hidden because people are just that interested.
Yeah.
And people are just that fascinated with aliens and UAP. They just wouldn't let it go. And they're like, all right, finally, we got to give these people something, because the internet age, they're getting too much information on their own,
It was so funny. Like the guy from Blink 182 at a concert last week, he was like, I was right. Like, so like he got that.
I mean, a lot of people thought he was a fucking wackadoo. Seriously. Like, he literally did a band called Angels and Air. Like,
yeah.
Like to little punk rock kids, we thought he went crazy.
Yeah.
Like kinda. He started this band, he got into this stuff, and you're like, wow, all right, he's kind of on the side now. So I actually do think it's got to be validating for someone like that.
100%. And the last thing I just want to bring up with that is during the trial, they also talked about silencing like witnesses, and how some witnesses and lawmakers at the hearing argued that stigma associated it hindered the effort to determine the origins, which I think anybody, regardless of how you feel about aliens and UFOs and stuff like that, like people just want to know the origin, and I think that they'd be a little bit more comfortable with it. So
yeah, I listened last week. There was a Duncan Trussell pod with I believe his name is Chris Wallace, who is the son of David Wallace, who was somebody who had an abduction story, like a normal, and something that happened all the time. And he talked about the kind of harassment and public shaming and all sorts of things that happened to his family as a result of not only staying public with it, but also like sticking to the fact that it is the truth when they were forced to kind of say it was a lie for many years. So like, that's why I kind of brought up the Ed Harris and the fedora thing, because I do think some sketchy characters come at your door often, and when you start to report stuff like this.
How sad is it that because of the writer's strike, SNL has been on vacation and we haven't gotten the Kate McKinnon like her like abduction lady?
Oh yeah, they got to redo that one. Oh, that one was hilarious.
Yeah, I love that one.
McKinnon. Much respect.
She was great in Barbie, but by the way, too, like really good. That was a crazy film. So subversive, way more subversive than
I heard. I got to get into it.
Anyway, let's move on. A little happy trails here. One of the most subversive and original figures in 1980s pop culture, the cherry-lipped, matchstick thin You know him from his red bow tie, his tasseled loafers, shrunken gray suit. That's right. We're talking about Pee Wee Herman. And more importantly, the actor Paul Reubens, who portrayed him, died last week at the age of 70 as a result of cancer. The character appeared on stage in the Pee Wee Herman show during the early 80s, but did not become a international phenomenon until Pee Wee's Big Adventure in 1985. Benny, I know that you're a big Pee Wee Herman fan. I saw in the house you put on Big Adventures and watched it with the fam last week. So how will you remember the late great Paul Reubens?
I mean, for me, I was literally like, I was smack in the middle of it as a kid. You know, like the movie came out when I was, I think, 6. You know, the show was on all through those years, and I vividly remember it as like one of my favorite things to do when I was a kid. I don't remember much about that time, and I remember fucking Cherry, and I remember the genie, and I remember Pee-wee, and I remember the bike and the mailman and like all these funny characters. It was like some twisted version of our Mr. Rogers. And if you want to know what's wrong with all of us, maybe that's it. But like, so I really like grew up with this character and grew up the movies. I mean, I even love I love the films. Like I watched it again, and you know, having that Pee-wee character mixed with Tim Burton and Danny Elfman, like it's such a bizarre mix and makes for such like a rewatchable movie. Like even now it's pretty quality, you know? And you know, and I was thinking about it, like there aren't a lot of people out there in the world who exist as just like one character anymore, right? Like this used to kind of be a thing back in the day, like out in the world, it'd be like this guy and he's constantly on. And I'm watching Pee-wee again, and I'm like, this is such a distinct, like, of the voice, the outfit, the way he delivers like lines. Like no one's ever really done that since, you know. And the fact that like the Paul Reubens thing never turned into anything else. There was never an offshoot. There was never his film career or something like that. It was just Pee-wee. That was it. This guy was just Pee-wee and the world, and that's kind of unique. I mean, we'd obviously be remiss to say, I actually even made a mistake the other day. I was in a public setting when someone mentioned Pee-wee, and I've always blanketly rejected that jerking off in a porn movie theater should get you in much trouble. I mean, like, sure, you're a kid star, so you might want to choose a different hobby, but like, listen, this guy wasn't diddling his prick out in the street slapping it with people. He's in a porn movie theater watching pornography, playing with himself, which always seemed not that bad to me. So even in public the other day, and I'm like, someone's like, oh, you know, he was kind of weird or something. I'm like, he wasn't weird. He was jerking off. And then when I'm reading the stories, I heard that he got in another bit of trouble because of like photographs of underage children and stuff, which I did not know about until he passed away. So I'm not going to sit here and like extol the virtues of the man, because I don't know much about the man, and that's most of the public stuff I do know. But as far as the character and the show and the movies, I mean, long lasting influence on me and like American pop culture for sure.
Yeah. It's so funny when I was a kid, like, you know how in like Asbury there's like Tilly, like I was like, why is there like a Pee-wee's like Herman like Asbury Park? But man, big ups to him though. Paul Reubens will be missed because, well, the character of Pee Wee Herman, it's gonna be interesting to see. You know, we talk all the time on this podcast about, you know, like who owns what, and after artists die, like what happens with like their music. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with the Pee Wee Herman character once his estate is in control.
I wonder who owns his likeness and stuff. That's a good point. Yeah.
So
bring that question up then. I know you love to play this game. You're recasting Pee-wee's Big Adventure right now, remake. Who is Pee-wee?
Who is Pee-wee Herman? Yo,
Chalamet?
Oh no, like I'm thinking like you have to go more in like the comedy sphere. Like I'm thinking like See, like, there's no real like Paul Rubens, Andy Kaufman's, where like guys that can like personify this character. Like maybe like one of the only guys that I can think of in like modern comedy who could do like a interpretation on it would maybe be like a like Tim Robinson, like the like I think you could leave guy, but he very much stays in like his own lane. Like there's nobody who's like, I don't know.
I like that suggestion though, because you need like he's maybe screwball enough to pull it off and actually like commit to a character that hard, you know. That's a good suggestion. I think I'll go Tim Robinson as the new Pee-wee. Sure.
Oh, see what have Bill Hader direct it. You kind of get a like
we're in.
Dark meets light. Love it. All right. Let's move on. You know, so if this is your first tune up, we're doing a bit of different stories today. But man, I love this stuff.
Just jam with us.
We're kind of like the Grateful Dead today. You know, we're gonna start one place and end up a completely
We'll take you there.
journey.
It's like having sex with Sting. Okay, you don't know where it's going, but it's gonna climax.
Well, we're gonna talk about skinny dipping soon.
Why'd you ever take those bits for the videos? Come on, that's the funny shit. You always talk about, Gaslight played a show video. When I give you gold like that, you know? These could be memes.
I'm so used to having to like toe the corporate line with what I post that I'm always just like, oh, what would the NBA like? Okay, nope. What would Benny like? So we'll talk about...
Yeah. Got to go subversive, Denny, with me if you want me to like it.
So the entire Pee-wee stuff, it's going up this week.
No, give me that one Sting line. That one line about Sting having sex. That's it. That'll draw people in. Trust me.
I bet it will. All right, let's move to a zoo in China, shall we? Which is like, why would we do that? Because a zoo in eastern China is denying suggestion that some of its bears might be people in costumes after photos of animals standing like humans were slated online. The sun bears from Malaysia are smaller than other bears and look different, but are quote unquote the real thing. This zoo said on Monday via their social media account. All right, so I want you all to take a look at what we're talking about here with the bears. So look at this bear. Like this bear is standing up. He's looking around. I think at one point he waves, and look at that. Bends over, which it's like if that's a person, that's great flexibility there. But you see it. This is like a country bear jamboree situation. Look at this.
I mean, I know.
Like the bottom right there. Like you see the pants. You see the butt.
It's bizarre.
Look at that. That's a human spine and a human butt.
Yeah, but there's no human that long. You know? Oh, it's weird seeing the X on there. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. Up until this moment, I'd only seen the stills of this. And based on the stills, I was like, that is so clearly a person in a bear costume that this is laughable that they're trying to play this off. But when I just saw that movement, I'm like, that's kind of like an Evil Dead-ish movement if that's a person in there. That's a very like strange arched back. And if that is a person in there, I'd like to give them credit for their abilities to move their body like that, because it kind of looked like someone like possessed, if you can actually like make your body go like that. So seeing it in that context, okay, those are probably real bears. Because like I think we're getting suckered into something here too, right?
Please.
We are. This is part. The New York Post ran this story. This is part of kind of like listen, I know we have like problems with Chinese, the country right now, and there's some issues with America, but don't like fall for this shit. Just because they're communists doesn't mean they're this dumb. And that like thousands of people walk into a zoo every day and are completely bewildered by a man in a bear costume. Come on. Like they're still like humans with eyes that walk around the world, that maybe like read books, that, you know, like maybe some are smart, have really good cameras that can see stuff. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about here? You know, like, there's no fucking people in a bear costume. Jeez.
I don't know, man. Have you seen Snow White? You put 3 little kids in there, child labor endangerment, allegedly sprinkled, because I don't want to get black bagged by Joe Tsai, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying right now. Like, yeah, you're right. These 3 kids are inside. They're fucking 11 years old. They're not supposed to be working. They're wards of the state. They're high on fucking rhino tusk. That's what people think is going on in there.
Oh, but hey, you know, that's a different kind of bear specific to the region. I get it. It's not.
Yeah, it's a skinny bear. Skinny bear. Wait. He needs some honey.
I can't wait until Halloween and you just have like these like college kids going as this bear. Can't wait. But
they're gonna wear distasteful signs that say like Chinese bear or something. Or
Elizabeth Olsen's watching this and she's wait. I get that wrong every time. The cocaine bear lady, she's like, "Oh, yeah. I have my sequel."
Well, that's what I'm saying. Sure I'm like, you're gonna dress up like that bear instead of cocaine bear?
Oh, maybe. You're nuts. Maybe that's a funnier bear. That is an objectively funnier bear.
Yeah, but you can't put white powder on the face of that bear and it be funny. Yeah. Cocaine bear is going to be a great Halloween costume. Oh, I came up with mine, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to be Ashley Schaefer. From Eastbound and Down. Ashley Schaefer BMW.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, let's move on.
All right, let's move on. We're going to get to baseball in a little bit, but it's summertime in New Jersey here, which led one local news outlet, hello, New Jersey 101.5, former employer of yours truly, by the way, ranked the best skinny dipping places in New Jersey. And I know that we're a national program, but I wanted to get your opinions on, you know, it's the beginning of August, end of summer. What for you makes a great skinny dipping location?
I mean, no people. And that's where like when I saw this article, you know, I'm like, I've lived in New Jersey for 42 years. It's hard. It's difficult to get to parts of this state where there's no other people around.
Yeah.
I try. Trust me. I try hard. And I can go deep into hikes and stuff and look up and be like, all right, I haven't ran into another person in like 20 minutes. So it happens, but you got to go to like the depths of the New Jersey woods for that to happen. Like I heard about this story and all I could think was like, how few places I've swam in New Jersey I'd feel comfortable being naked.
Okay.
Without being arrested.
Yeah. Well,
and that would be my biggest problem is like, listen, I'm old now.
Yeah.
I go full cock and balls out at the gym. I don't care anymore. Who cares? You know, this is more about being arrested than someone seeing my stuff. You know?
Yeah, I got you. Well, let's run through the list real quick.
Lay it on me.
Sorry to make this super local, but Round Valley in Lebanon, Sandy Hook in Highlands, which if you're going skinny dipping in Sandy Hook, that's crazy.
You're arrested, and it's Round Valley too is packed.
The Delaware River in Frenchtown, also Manasquan Inlet, which is also like really populated. Lake Hopatcong maybe, but that's
private house though. You need the private house on Hopatcong. Yeah, they
said Spring Lake, which is crazy.
There's like camps at Spring Lake.
Yeah, there's like camps there.
You'll be
Lake Takasani in Ocean City.
Don't know that one.
Cape May Beach, that's wild. Just out in Cape May, just full frontal. Lake Surprise in Highland Lakes, that's Vernon. I grew up there. Gross. I'd never even go in there. Like it's like fish die in Highland Lakes. That's how gross it is.
Wait, Vernon, is that a runoff of Action Park?
Yeah. That's
right in the stuff. Okay.
I grew up half a mile from there. And Seven Presidents Island Beach in Long Branch. So very populated places. And the other one that didn't make my copy and paste there is Lake Mohawk in Sparta, which that's the only one on this list you can do. Yeah.
So I mean, like 6 of the ones they mentioned, you'll be arrested in like 5 minutes. Yeah. If especially me. Oh, look at that 6'3", 210-pound guy with a graying mustache walking around with his flabby ass and descending balls walking around. Like I'd be arrested so fast. That river in Frenchtown, there's literally a playground on the side of it because it's very nice and you can play next to the river. So this article I don't know. What are they trying to do? Are they?
What's
going
Town
on with
Square Media trying to do? To
I
the
don't
local
know.
community?
I don't know. Like, this is a strange story because these are all very nice places.
Yeah.
But being in the context of skinny dipping, it's like, I don't know, man. I've been to Barcelona. You can't pull that off in New Jersey.
That's what I'm gonna quote. That just be the tagline. Like, I've been to Barcelona.
I've been to Barcelona, baby. You can't pull that off in New Jersey.
Oh,
it's
man.
True. It's true.
All right. Well, let's move on, shall we? That was a crazy half hour of content. You're welcome.
That's my favorite half hour. I'm glad we only one death. That's the new rule, Danny. Only one death on the front portion of the show, please.
On the front nine.
On the front nine, only one death. New rule.
All right. Well, let's get into a little hoops action, shall we? And Diana Taurasi became the first WNBA player to score 10,000 points. She copied the LeBron James when he became the all-time leading scorer celebration. Taurasi came into Thursday night's game only needing 18 points to pass the mark. She finished with 42, so just a all-time situation for probably the best women's basketball player we've ever had. So big ups to Taurasi. Just wanted to get that in today.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, you look down the line and like how important this record could be. Like who's going to break this record? Who's in the contention? This is what makes sports narratives like more fun. And sometimes I think this is where people get impatient with new leagues, because like you need someone to play like a massive spanning 15-year career and break all these records and set benchmarks and milestones for the next generation to chase it. And it makes it more interesting. So I think stuff like this is very, very quality for the league. And Taurasi's a good person to wear the crown for a while,
100%. All right, well, let's move on to a guy who has a crown in Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani hit his 40th home run.
What a monster!
Season. The first guy to get the 40 home runs this year. This comes after a week where there was a lot of speculation, and we talked about it, that the Los Angeles Angels were going to trade him. He stayed put at the deadline. They're starting to get healthy. They made some additional moves to try to make a run here. What do you make of the Angels' decision to keep him at the deadline? And what do you think of how do you think Anaheim's going to finish this season?
I love what the Angels did. You heard me on here 2 weeks ago saying that the only option for the Angels is to fucking lean into trying to keep Ohtani. Like, what else are you going to do? If you even know you have a chance to re-sign this guy, you have to do everything in your power to try to re-sign him. So they not only did it at the trade, they jumped the trade deadline. The Lucas Giolito trade, who, if people remember, there was a time Giolito was considered maybe the most important prospect in baseball at a certain time. They pulled the trigger on that before the deadline even began. And I thought didn't have to give up too much to get him. And then they go back and they deal with St. Louis to get Grichuk. They get CJ Cron. They get a couple extra bats in the lineup. Trout is getting healthy. So as I look at this lineup going up every day, and I'm still seeing some spots in the lineup where you're like, shit, man, I feel bad for Ohtani. It's actually made me like really root for the Angels. Yeah. Like I'm like rooting for the narrative now. And I kind of, now that they made like the good faith effort and he's playing so amazing, I kind of like want it all to work out in my like sports narrative thing. So as far as the Angels are concerned, I think they were very smart. And did everything you need to do. It's unfortunate the first two starts Giolito has had, not so good. Grichuk and Cron have had some big hits already, but it's they also made those deadline deals and then had a series with the Braves, who's probably the best team in baseball, and then just started a series with the Mariners, who they're in tight contention with in the standings. So it didn't time well for them, but I think it was real smart that they did it. And literally, like the day I think they make this Giolito trade, they have a doubleheader where he pitches a complete game shutout in the first half, and then hits 2 home runs to win in the second half. What the fuck with this guy? And now you're starting to see some real like Barry Bonds treatment starting. Like he's getting walked constantly. Like he's pulling 2-3 walks a game. His on base percentage is upwards of 410 now because of it. He's having a career year because it's getting to the point where people are just pitching around him. And if you start, really like actually having some bats you got to worry about in that lineup, I mean, sky's the limit for him. But I mean, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The only time I've ever seen something like this was Bonds.
Yeah.
It's just sheer dominance. And to answer your first question, I think the Angels did everything you should be doing. They've made a lot of mistakes in the last few years and a lot of things that haven't panned out. But like this is exactly what they needed to be doing right now.
That should be the next rule that Major League Baseball changes. You get like 5 intentional walks a game, so that like you have to be so sparing that when you decide to like do it, it like actually counts and you can't just do it indefinitely.
Yeah, maybe 2, like 2 intentional walks or something. Yeah, that could be good. That could be good.
Because this whole trying to avoid a guy like Ohtani, it's kind of ridiculous, and it feels like you shouldn't be able to do it. Like they'll like eliminate the pickoff, but like you can't just like not go at Ohtani for a whole game to try to limit him.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's the thing. If I'm an opposing pitcher and I'm looking at this lineup and I'm like, okay, I get through Ohtani and then I'm getting to Chad Wallach and I'm getting to, Zach Neto, the rookie, and I'm getting all these kids, like, why the fuck would I pitch to him? At this point, it's just good strategy, really.
Get better as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Get better. Like it's the only sport where you can really granted, like NBA has like ISO and stuff like that, and you can have like you can change your matchup there, but it's the only sport where you can really kind of duck the best player and what they do the best. It's crazy. The
one thing I've been reading about, this story is finally getting a lot of attention and attention.
Yeah,
thank you. And as you know, I mean, I have a video from me extolling the virtues of Ohtani from like year and a half ago.
Yeah,
something like that. And so I'd like to say I was on board. Ben Stradamus knew, but I feel like it's like really becoming part of the narrative now that like we are dealing with like a generationally amazing player. And I think the story's getting out there. And one thing I've noticed about the story that I think gives the Angels a little bit of an edge is that this guy seems to be all about like the process and the routine and what he has to do. And from what you hear, he has complete autonomy from the Angels. Yeah. Like he's not part of their food program, training program, anything. He's got his guy, his schedule, his routine, and they let him fly. And they've been doing it for years. And I think, with someone like that and a personality like that, the last thing somebody wants like that is disruption. Yeah. So he seems meticulous. He seems like one of those types of people. And that's what's starting to give me an idea that like, you know what? They can still pay me like $600 million or something crazy, which I'm going to get. Because at this point, you can make a case he's worth $300 million on each side of the ball. So I think the Angels actually stand a pretty good chance now.
Yeah. Any contract that they're going to give him is going to be a good deal. So I hope that both sides can figure something out and he can keep hitting dingers and living in Laguna. That's a nice life.
He's fun to watch, man. He's fun to watch.
All right, let's talk a little Yankees and Mets here. Let's start with the Mets here because the Mets are planning for the 2025 season and beyond. Owner Steve Cohen doesn't want to get embarrassed next season. So at the trade deadline, they did a bit of a fire sale. They bolstered their farm system. They bolstered the assets that they have to deal to try to put together a better winner next year than they were able to do this year. He even met the team in Kansas City to try to assure the guys that, this isn't a complete lost cause and to keep competing and everything. This comes after they traded Verlander, they traded Scherzer. So guys who, if you're just tuning into the baseball season at this point in the season, that you're like, they had those guys and they have that record. So kind of crazy. But what do you make of the Mets cutting their losses and looking ahead to next season and beyond?
Well, I think it's smart.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where, like, when you look at something on paper, you're like, oh, okay, this is the smart thing to do. But this is a hard sell. You know what I mean? Because the Mets went into this season, and I'm a Yankees guy, but I root for the Mets, and I don't wish ill on the Mets, and I want them to succeed. And, I went into this year going like, shit, they look good on paper. It's the fucking Mets, though, Something's going to Met it up. And within like a day or two of me saying that, their closer fucking busts up his leg in a celebration, the baseball classic, and is gone for the year. Like Mets right off the bat. Scherzer gets off to a slow start. Verlander gets off to a slow start. Lindor gets off to a slow start. Alonso's kind of the only one hitting. They got injury problems right off the bat. So,
what's up?
Lawnmower.
Keep talking.
Oh God. I'll just push through.
Live radio, baby.
You want me to close that door? All right, we'll push through. It'll be gone soon. Right. So, the thing they did with the Mets that I thought was, is this so loud you can't even hear me?
No, I can hear you. It's just there. I love it. If you want to close the door, that's
I don't think it's going to do that much, but let me try.
All right. So, yeah, no, the Mets situation is interesting because obviously they spent all of that money to try to put together a team that was deemed like unbeatable. But I think that there's something to what Benny was saying about the fact that, some teams just get bit by the bug.
Now I feel like Mike and the Mad
Dog and stuff like that.
So back to the Mets. Here we go.
Just take over. I was filling the dead air, but continue.
So here's the thing with the Mets is, like, I think they're simultaneously being smart and completely lying to their fans, because this team is not doing dick next year. Like, now look at the pitchers they're going to be throwing out there without Verlander and Scherzer. There's no one else in the pipe. Like, there's no one you're sitting there going like, oh, they got 2-3 starters coming up through the pipe that might be ready to go next year. I thought it was a great haul to get back Acuna's little brother in the Scherzer deal, but he's still at Double-A. This kid Gilbert they got in the Verlander deal, again, good prospect, great college outfielder, but still seems, year or two away from making a serious impact. And they're rookies, which means, maybe 2 years away from impacting winning. So this idea that they're making these moves for next year is a lie. I do think they're being smart, getting off the books with these guys, saving the money, refilling the prospects, refilling the minor leagues. Like, the team is in much better shape than it was prior to this deal. But next year is a fucking wash. And I don't think you're going to see the dividends from this trade until 2025.
And a team that also, had to make some moves at the deadline and kind of didn't do much of anything was the New York Yankees. They're kind of in a world of trouble. They didn't restock. They didn't get better. They kind of just stayed and seemed happy internally to kind of stay put. So what do you make of the Yankees trade deadline?
Talk about lying to your fans. Like, that's where, every public statement is like, yeah, we're in it to win it. We're in it to do this. When you traded for 2 middle of the road, middle relief, actually one, I don't even think is a major league reliever. Yeah. I mean, the Middleton kid they got from the White Sox is a functional middle reliever that you can pop in there, but that's not moving the needle. I mean, I think there is maybe some secret hope that, like, oh, okay, Cortez comes back, Judge comes back, we start, kind of hitting the right notes at the right time. They're not that far out, so you could still make a run at the playoffs if you're the Yankees. I mean, they're 5 games above 500. They're only a few games out of the wild card, so it's possible. But, I mean, they boofed the deadline. Either, The packages for the guys they wanted to get were too extreme. Like, I'm not sure, but they didn't get off of anything. They didn't add anything. It was a very just middle of the road deadline for a middle of the road team, which is, a lot about this has been very un-Yankees, and if they went ahead and, but that's the thing, the Yankees are never at liberty to boof a season.
Yeah.
They're 5 games above 500 and they have Aaron Judge, who they just signed to the biggest contract in baseball. Like, what are you supposed to do? You don't boof a season when you have Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, you just don't. So, they probably should have added something, but I think it was kind of the maybe secret mindset behind closed doors that, like, listen, guys, this year ain't it. So we're not going to make some dumb trade right now, but like, let's present it as if like we're still in the mix. But I think behind closed doors, the Yankees brass knows that this group is not getting past, an Astros or a Rays or an Orioles right now. Like,
I never thought that the Yankees would be the kind of team where they're like, oh, like, let's just focus on selling tickets the rest of the way rather than putting, because it's like that like, like, you hate to say it, but that's kind of when teams, remain non-committal and think that they still have a chance to win a championship. It's because they know the moment that they throw in the towel, listen, it's not like fans are going to stop showing up, but like the passion isn't going to be there. And that's kind of, I got to imagine that's what matters to their margins when.
Yeah. And not to mention like the people they're sticking with and the people they didn't get off of are highly unlikable right now. I'm serious. This is one of the problems watching the Yankees is you're watching old, overpaid guys underperform, which is one of the least favorite things to watch in pro sports all around, not just baseball. Like watching guys like Josh Donaldson and DJ LeMahieu and Rizzo at this point, even though he's a good guy, like these dudes are done. Yeah. They're not playing at a major league level and they're highly, highly, highly overpaid. Like the Yankees took bets on all these guys and it's not working out. And if anyone's in need of a youth movement, a culture movement, like it's just a stale kind of team. And even a game like last night, like Anthony Volpe is the only guy you're looking at and you're just like excited about. Even watching Stanton hit a home run every once in a while, you're just like, that was the ugliest home run I've ever seen. You run around the bases like the fucking Rock. Like, it just doesn't look right. You're still hitting 200 and you're paid fucking like $45 million a year. So even when you watch it, it's kind of like bittersweet and it's not that nice. And it's like if Judge or Volpe is not doing anything good, I'm even having a hard time kind of just like enjoying it to this point. It's a sort of unlikable squad they put together. And I do think there really needs to be a strike of lightning in Yankees land.
100%. All right, 2 more quick stories before we get out of here. Speaking of a strike of lightning, let's talk about the Miami Marlins. And, off the field, they put together an incredible promotion to welcome their deadline acquisition, Jake Berger, to South Florida. The Miami celebrated the slugger and his appetizing last name by offering $5 hamburgers for their game Wednesday night. I love this. I think that we need more player name inspired situations. The slugger has 25 home runs entering Wednesday. So a great addition for the Marlins, but this $5 burger situation, which I'm not sure if that's more of a statement on the state of inflation, because I'm pretty sure this burger used to be like,
or the quality of meat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
no, I love this. And you got to lean into people like this too, because I know this Jake Berger. He was a pretty high touted prospect coming in, and he's shaping up to be one of those sort of chubby, gruffy white dudes who is a low average 30 plus home run a guy a year. He's got great power and a great swing, but he's not the best hitter all around. But like baseball fans love guys like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For some reason, give me a guy who's ours. I'll take his 210 average and 31 home runs a year every year because his name is Burger. We eat $5 burgers. I love watching him tromp around So this is a great thing for the Marlins. Can I mention something about the Marlins?
Yeah, please.
That I think hasn't been talked about. Who stepped away from the Marlins before last season?
David Sampson. No.
Who? Little guy named number 2, Derek Jeter.
Oh, here we go.
Derek Jeter fixed the Marlins. He was there for like 3 years, only losing seasons, gutted it out. And here they go. He's like, you know what? My work is done here. Enjoy this team. Leaves, and now they're in playoff contention, making trades for a playoff run out of nowhere. Jeter does it again. Behind the scenes, people are like, wow, Jeter. He's like a myth. This is like the NDA of his ownership steps. He never does anything wrong.
They hate
Derek
him
Jeter
in
should
South
run for
Florida.
president.
Why? Because look at what when he was there. It was a tough situation.
Look at this team he left them.
Empty ballpark. Come on. I don't know how much
it takes time. Derek Jeter got into the meat of he went under the bull and he grabbed the testicles and he filmed that farm system. It took a couple years, but Jeter fixed the Marlins. I mean, come on.
I don't think he's on Fox.
Jeter for president.
I don't think he's sitting next to David Ortiz and A-Rod on Fox if it went as well as you're trying to tell me.
He fixed the Marlins. Everyone knows it.
Oh, all right. Well, last story today, speaking of an organization that needs fixing. ESPN let go of Mark Jackson this week. They're in the middle of...
Good.
Oh, man. Okay. Easy. They're in the middle of a massive transformation with their on-air talent. The new broadcast team for the new lead broadcast team for the NBA and ESPN is going to be Mike Breen, Doris Burke. Love that. Love Manasquan's finest right there. And my Marquette guy, Doc Rivers.
Rivers. I love this.
That's a heck of a team. But I'm bringing up Mark Jackson because there's a story that surfaced that I'm not sure how true this is, but I want to talk about it for entertainment's sake. So the adult site Cam Video has extended a jaw-dropping $1 million offer to Jackson to provide play-by-play analysis during their live cam shows. The company has even suggested that Jackson can use his catchphrase "grown man move" during sensational moments.
Wait, he didn't take this. Isn't Mark Jackson proudly like a church-going man and stuff?
Yeah. He's a church-going man. He wants to get back on an NBA bench, but the offer is on the table. Like so many teams have offered Damian Lillard everything. Cam Soda. I don't know if that's a real website.
As much as I don't know if this story is real. I don't know the site. I don't know anything about it. But I fucking love it. How smart is that for the porn game to get into play-by-play guys? This is like the best.
Not literally in play-by-play.
They should have tickers on the side about like inches and like the measurements and like they got to do it like ESPN style. Porn needs to move into the DraftKings era.
DraftKings bets.
Yeah, you got to start like doing live porn and taking bets. When's he going to finish? 5 minutes, 7 minutes, putting money down. You got tickers. You got Mark Jackson. You got Mark Jackson with the play-by-play. Oh, my God. This is genius.
If they would have offered Mark Jackson $1 million, how much do you think they would have offered Breen for Bang?
10.
10. Easy.
He's 10. Cool 10. But that being said, I don't want to be grumpy about it. But listening to Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy just old man harumph about fucking everything for the last few years. I like their analysis because they're obviously like well-versed basketball guys, but I think they're almost like too far in it. Like it's like they know how the sausage is made and nothing impresses them anymore. Like I love the fact that I get to hear Doris Burke, who's just fascinated by the NBA and fascinated by what these people can do and can bring a little like love and joy into the thing and into the broadcast. And Doc, I just like listening to talk because he sounds like the fucking Marlboro Man. So I actually, I'm welcome to this move, and I hope Van Gundy just gets a job. I like him as a coach. Mark Jackson, I got to be honest, from the '80s Knicks to coaching to now, I don't know. He's always rubbed me the wrong way. Don't like Mark Jackson. What can I say? I'm sure he's a great guy. Nothing personal. Just don't enjoy listening to him talk.
Yeah. Well, the NBA wanted to get off of those guys allegedly internally because they want someone that's going to sell the game more. And when you're criticizing the refs, when you're criticizing the league, that's not a way that you're going to stay on a contract that is worth so much money to
every 4 seconds. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Yeah, it's taxing.
At what point does it become like, does your broadcast become propaganda though? Because that's what we criticize the other leagues for, that like, oh, they're not critical enough. So I don't know.
I trust, if there's a journalist in this game, I trust is Doris Burke.
Yeah, that's true.
Queen,
absolute queen.
Has never done anything wrong. So I trust. This combination of Breen, Burke, and Rivers is kind of like a group I trust. I'd let them watch my kids, There
we go. Well, if you want to watch Benny's kids, you can email the podcast. No, I'm kidding. The Tune-Up Podcast at gmail.com. 2 P's in there. Tune-Up Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to follow us on all the social platforms, we're at the Tune-Up HQ. Anywhere you are, we're there. Subscribe on YouTube, please. We love all of the love and support. Love you chiming in on the live. Love listening. Love everything about it. If you want to get in touch with the big man, he is at Benny Horowitz on Instagram. I am at Deny Gallagher on Instagram. Benny, you got anything else?
Are we still live on X?
Oh, yeah. Wow, that hasn't changed. It still shows me the birds. Yeah, so we are live on X.
Well, everybody love everybody out there. And don't get sucked into the Matrix.
The show has ended. Go in peace. You have been listening to and watching the